Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Jenelle Riley with Variety. Before we're joined by our guest today, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation today is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the foundation has given over $6.5 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. So if you are a SAG-AFTRA artist and you need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you for your support. And now, without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome William Jackson Harper and Jessica Williams of HBO Max's Love Life, which will be competing in the SAG Awards Limited Series Anthology categories. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's such a fantastic show, such a wonderful season. This is an audience of your fellow SAG-AFTRA actors. So I actually always like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card? And let's start with Jessica.
Right. Oh man, I grew up in LA and Torrance, and I think it was like a Girl Scout. I think it was like a Girl Scout cookie commercial, but I don't remember because I started acting as a teenager. I really wanted to be on all that. I wanted to do like sketch comedy really badly. And I don't know why my parents allowed it, but they would like drive me to auditions. And so I think I did a Nickelodeon show for 13 episodes that was like produced by Whoopi Goldberg when I was like 15. And it might have been that, and it shot on the Universal Studios lot, but before it, please don't look that up. Anyone watching that? But before that, I think it was like some sort of Girl Scout cookie commercial or Girl Scout cookie shoot, something. I don't remember.
I love that you were inspired by all that because that was such a staple of my childhood too.
Yeah, it was like, just everything about it was iconic. Like, I cannot believe how long Kenan Thompson has been doing sketch in my brain. It's like for the majority of the time that I've been alive, he's been doing sketch comedy. And so, yeah, I just always wanted to do that. I wanted to be like a Disney Channel person. I wanted to be on Lizzie McGuire. That was like what I really wanted at that time. And so, and I lived in Torrance. So that was like 24 miles from LA. So I would audition and do stuff like that. And yeah, that's how I did that. And then I got into comedy when I was like in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're speaking my language, all these shows that you're checking.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah, cool. like Amanda Bynes was like, she's like amazing. She's so funny. She's really funny. And I just wanted to like do that.
Will, what about for you?
Law and Order.
Of course.
I was in New York, and it was like sort of the rite of passage for every New York.
So cool.
Dude, you got your episode of Law and Order, and then you got your SAG card. And so, yeah, it was, I think I want to say it was like maybe 2007?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which one? Which, like, was it a remix? What strain? Like, I'm saying strain, like the pandemic, but.
Yeah, it was Law and Order Criminal Intent.
Yeah, I know that one. I know that one. Yeah. I know a little CI, if you will.
Yeah, a little bit of CI. Yeah, that's where I got it. That's where I got it.
This is such a West Coast, East Coast thing. One is like Nickelodeon shows and the other is Law and Order. You can't sum it up better.
Absolutely.
Than that.
One's like a really cool grind and the other one's like, I want to put on the...
I don't know. I think they're both pretty cool brags. Well, now here you are in Love Life season 2, which finds, a whole new story, whole new leads. I'm curious, how did you first become aware of the series itself and what interested you in coming on board this project? Because it really is, it's a completely different show from season to season with some nice little winks and references and appearances from, people in season 1. But did you look at it as a whole new project? And let's start with Will this time.
Yeah, no, I did. Like like Sam reached out to my agents and was like, hey, would he be interested in doing something like would he be interested in doing Love Life? And I was like, I don't know. I haven't seen the show yet. And my agent was like, it's really good. You should watch it. And I was like, okay, like rom-coms are not the thing that I tend to gravitate towards. But I was like, I'll watch it. Like I trust her taste. And then it was really good. It was like really, really good. And I thought it was like messy and uncomfortable, and like just with the friends and them going through things, and like relationships just sort of falling apart, but not because of a betrayal. It's like all those things were just, I was like, this feels like real and sort of nuanced in a way that I hadn't seen. And then Sam and I would just get together and have a few drinks and just talk about the stuff that we get excited about, and just like trying to avoid the things that feel like like TV. Like how do we just get at the stuff that feels real, and how do we sort of get back into that vibe that I thought that season 1 did so well. And so like for me, after watching the first season and sitting down with Sam, I was like, oh yeah, I'm down to do this.
Jessica, for you?
Defo down. Yeah, I had just gotten back from shooting in London, and I was like, oh snap, what's like the next thing I'm going to do? And then it was similar, well, kind of to Will, where it's like, oh, have you seen the show Love Life? And I had been meaning to watch it. But because my friend Zoe Chow is in the first season, and she plays Anna Kendrick's best friend on there. And I was going to meet with Rochelle Williams and Sam Boyd, and I just wanted to like be prepared. And I was like, yeah, I'll watch a couple of episodes. And then I watched a couple, and then a couple turned into 4. And then it was like, then I just ended up blowing through the whole season like pretty quickly because it was really great. And my mom and I watched it together and just watched the whole thing. And so I was really just like overly kind of prepared. And then I spoke to Rochelle and I met with Sam, and they were explaining kind of this character of, Mia Hines, and I'm a fan of Will's. And then they were like, okay, well, we'll just want you to do like a chem test, with Will over Zoom, which is so the way things were. And like also really funny because Zoom, it's like really hard to connect. And so then I just did like a chemistry test, and it was really fun. And I got the job, and I went back to New York and got to shoot it a few blocks from my Brooklyn apartment. So that was really, really great. And I was just really excited to be a part of it.
Chemistry tests are weird enough in and of themselves, but I'm trying to imagine one over Zoom.
Definitely. And I think it was like a lot of HBO people on there. I think there was like 70 people on there, something. I also could just be wrong. And I just remember being like, okay, I guess I'm going to pin Will's face. I'm going to have my sides here just in case. And then but I'm not going to look at myself. I'm going to look into the dot on the top of the camera. Like it was like a kind of a mind trip a little bit to try and be like, are we connected? Just trying to do that was a lot.
Well, the show does hinge so much on the chemistry between the two of you. And
yeah.
From that very first episode, it's so fantastic. Did you have to build that, or was it pretty organic from the start, even over Zoom?
I think it was pretty, I'm just speaking.
Yeah.
For me. And then I just think we're both two like Black kind of people of color that have these like sort of similar interests. And then it was just really natural. And I found, and Will, I speak for both of us exclusively. I found that, I don't know. I found that I love doing our scenes together, and you were such a great scene partner. I felt like I was like it was one of those things where I felt like I was becoming a better actor because I didn't have to worry about you being like one of those leading actors that's like kind of mean. Like that happens a lot too, where you just get someone who's like number one on the call sheet and they kind of like neg you, or they're like kind of just a little, I just felt like you were so warm. And I felt like Sam and Rochelle and Bridget were also so warm. that I had permission to breathe. Like I got to improvise a lot in the scene, and I just felt like I trusted you. And so that then led to this sort of chemistry that I feel like we have on screen.
Yeah, and I think I will also speak for the both of us. All right. So when Jess came in, when we zoomed together for the camera, first off, I was like already a fan, and then on top of that, I was like, she's so cool. She's so good looking. She's so tall, man. Like, I'm not, like, it's like, no one's going to believe that she would be interested in me. It was just like, sort of like one of those things where you're just in awe of the person that you're getting to work with. And I felt that right off the bat. And then, I feel like that sort of, it was like there was very little divorcing of Marcus's awe of Mia from Will's awe of Jessica.
Will,
and so
slam this down. I'm gonna slam.
So it was, and then also it's I think that we have a lot of similar interests. I think that there's like there's just a vibe. I just felt like an instant connection, just like a sort of like I get you. I think I get you, and I think you get me, which makes me comfortable. And so, it just sort of lends itself to a kind of ease. And there was a lot of improvising here and there, but like also the scripts were so well written that it wasn't like we need to pull away from the story in order to make things work. It's like it's there, but it was like it's also so well written that you could play around with things and come right back and it's fine. And I think that it's like I feel like a lot of our tendencies and energies in scenes it's about the other person. It's about having the scene exist between two people rather than like, how do I do this thing by myself in this scene? It's like, well, how do I affect the person that I'm with? And so it's, I think I don't know, it felt like I felt that coming from you, and I was certainly trying to do that. And, and I feel like it sort of like made things sort of cook in a way that felt real.
Will, you've obviously played a wide variety of roles in your career, but how did it feel to be cast as the romantic lead of a show? And I mean, obviously, well, let you answer that first.
Okay. No, that was, I mean, daunting a little bit. I was like, afraid of that. I am a pretty unsentimental person for the most part, and so it's like I worry about sort of really leaning into like the cheesiness of the idea of the romantic lead. I'm like, I don't want to do the corny stuff. I want to like, how do you make it feel like just a person? And thankfully, Sam was up for that. Sam was interested in that, rather than sort of leaning into the TV or movie idea of the rom-com lead. And yeah, it's like I've always been kind of a weirdo. I've always played characters that are a little bit left of center. So I was definitely like intimidated to by taking on a role like this. But I think that one of the beauties of the show is that it sort of embraces all of that asymmetry and that weirdness, and sort of leans into the person rather than the idea of the lead of a rom-com.
I mean, the first season was so well received, but this is rare that this happens. I think the second season is even better, and seems like most people agree. I don't know how active either of you are on social media, but like, are you aware of, how much people are in love with your characters and this relationship? And I mean, Will, you kind of went through this before with like I guess Buff Cheaty meme where with people on Good Place. So maybe you're used to this, but like people really, really are invested in this relationship.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I do have some time on my hands, and I have in the last week. And yeah, I am so happy with how it's been received. Yes, I am very aware of what is happening online, because when I'm not working, I am on Reddit and on Twitter, and it's really tight. It's great. The reason I was thinking when you were talking, Will, like one of the reasons why I had so much fun doing the show with you is because I also just like our characters, and I like Marcus, and I like Mia, and I like them as people. And so I feel like it's been really gratifying to watch people like these two people and want what's best for them in this. But yeah, no, I've seen it.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some of it too. It's like, I just want to know that the thing that we were trying to do is coming off, like that the intention is received. And so like seeing people really be like just overjoyed by the way our series concludes, and how much they invested, and like the journey, like going from like, I'm not sure how I feel about this Marcus dude at all, to I just want them to be happy. It's like, I'm like, great, it's like, it's a whole ass journey, and I just want people to go on it. It's like, we don't want to stack the deck so where it's headed, and who you're supposed to be rooting for and how you're supposed to feel about them, but rather just watching people be people, where sometimes you like them, sometimes you don't. And but they are at their core people that are just trying to get through the day and trying to get through their lives with some semblance of dignity and happiness, and having people latch onto that and still want that for them after all the messiness that our season goes through is really gratifying.
I won't give anything away in case someone hasn't finished the season, but I did spend that final episode just holding my breath, just like, and kind of looking at like how much was left in the episode, like things can't go dramatically wrong here, or they can, really, really rooting for this couple.
They are truly so stressful. They are truly so stressful. And I totally get that. Some characters have been willing to press the eject button, a lot more willingly, a little trigger happy with the eject button than others. So I understand that.
Yeah.
And the show is so honest. I really didn't know how it would turn out.
Yeah.
I was really holding my breath for, about 32 minutes, I guess, in that final ep. I am curious, how much input did you have or did you want with the producers and other creatives about, making the series feel authentic to the experience of, main Black characters?
There's certain things that you talk about and certain things that you just do it, and it's like, I think that, I don't realize that, like, there's so many things that I didn't realize were sort of like, specifically like that people in the Black community knew about that other people didn't. Like, there's so many things that I'm like, everybody knows about that, right? And that's not so. And so it's like, there's ways in which I'm sort of like, oh, wow, like that's, like, this all just makes sense to me, like just things being like Mia being from PG County is like, and, sort of being like, on top of it. And like, it's like things like that all make sense to me, and things that I've heard before. And, and for like, like Black people in the audience being like, yeah, I get that. I'm glad to see that. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Like, I just took it for granted as like a thing that everybody knew about, but not everyone does. And so there is just some things are just, I'm just a Black dude, and there's just things that I do that are just, they are what they are. And so it's like, it's not so much about like trying to make sure that we're hitting those marks, but just sort of like just bringing myself to it. And that's going to be what it is. And And so it's to me, it's like I'm really happy that that the specificity of the characters, and the specificity of our personal experiences resonating enough without having to just over talk too much of it and try to like make sure that we're hitting goalposts. It's just like, no, this makes sense to me, and just go with it.
Totally. I have that with you. I think what's cool about this season is it is very Black in that inherently, like the leads and supporting cast, a lot of us are Black. And so there's a lot of lines. Like I think like Punky Johnson has this really funny line that's like, I can't just be using like strange lotions. Like, it's like those things are like, oh yeah, no, you can't. But then like, people that aren't necessarily people of color or Black people are like, well, what do you mean? Like that doesn't make sense. But I think that adds like this really beautiful and dynamic layers. Like once you start adding people of color to projects, there is this, it works on multiple dimensions. And same with like queer people too. It works on multiple dimensions where you've got these like new, fresh perspectives that just have these like really good layers in that way. That just sort of hits home with everyone because the truth is universal in a nice way, but then also works on other levels where like my mom can watch this show and she's like, oh, this is great. This reminds me of when I was a young Black woman, blah, blah, blah. She would hate that I just went blah, 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 like I wasn't listening. But yeah, it is like, yeah, I'm your mom. No, but I think it just works on multiple levels because we are people of color. And what was great was that between, Sam, who's white, Rochelle, who's a woman of color, and Bridget, who's white, we got that sort of agency to make those choices and to bring sort of that part of ourselves to this show.
Did you guys have any input in, the title of the play in the final episode, Little Ass Boy? Like, did that just show up on a script and hopefully make you laugh? Or
yeah, it just showed up, and that's what it was. We didn't have any input on that. I had a lot of input on my character, but I didn't have input on that. That was just a delight to watch, really.
Will, what did you think when you saw that title?
I mean, like I knew it was coming, but it still hurt,
Yeah.
But that is the magic of that writer's room. They wrote some cutting jokes, some really good cutting jokes, and so yeah, that's just the magic of that room.
When you're like acting and your acting coach is like, you put on the character and then you like hang it up and then you go home to like your family and you just kind of leave it. That Little Ass Boy one was that one where you were kind of like going home in your car and you were like, damn, am I a little ass boy?
Well, it definitely was like, it was definitely one where I was like, dag, has anyone ever felt this about me? I I've had some moments, like I'm a grown ass man. I've had some moments in my life where I was not the dude that I want to be. So, like, have I inspired that piece of art somewhere? Yeah, no, it definitely shook me to the core.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see Marcus go through that whole journey, and then the fact that Ola denies it's even about him just makes it worse.
It's so funny. It's just, she does it perfectly. It's like just such a delightful scene. I love that scene.
I don't know that it's unfair to Marcus, though. From his perspective, that's how it.
From the time. Look, he was going through some things. He was really crying. He was really crying.
Well, Marcus, I didn't realize it till I watched some of the episodes back. He like loves a move-in. Like Marcus like loves to cohabitate in that way. You know what I mean? He's like, he like loves it.
Marcus is a dude. Marcus is a dude who wants to be a fuckboy, but he doesn't want to want to be a fuckboy.
Yep.
And he judges it. And so like I feel like so much of the first half of the season is him being like, no, that's not me, but it totally is. And then, he sort of like, he grows, but I think that he loves to be, he wants to be the good guy, but that's not who he is in that moment.
My friend said he dates to roommate.
Yeah.
which I loved.
I feel like that's a very New York thing too. Because that's just expensive. So just be expensive.
Oh, it happened so quick. Yeah, you get like,
Yeah, it's just like, why am I paying this?
yeah.
But I mean, that's if he started off perfect, there would be no story. We love following his journey. There were times I wasn't sure I'd be able to root for him and this relationship. And, by the end, I was really, really in love with Marcus.
Okay.
Whew. All right.
It's a high wire act. It is.
Yeah.
And, obviously it's a comedy, but there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of tension. How did you prepare for some of those scenes? Were they challenging to shoot?
Yeah. Yes. It's a weird sort of pocket that you have to try to find your way to, because I think that some of the sort of more emotionally heightened moments are coming out of nowhere. They're kind of coming as a surprise, and so it's like the challenge is to not play the end at the beginning and to let yourself get hit in the face at some point and just let it rest, let it bop around and see what it does and see what sort of weird reaction comes out. And that's, once you've done it several times, it gets a little harder to keep it, fresh, especially when you find something by the end of the scene that's like, oh, this feels like a release in a good way that I want to remember and I want to hold on to and I want to see if I can get back there again. But you can't start in that place once you reset. You have to go back to being completely unsuspecting and then let yourself get hit in the face again. And so that's a real challenge. It's like one of the toughest things, and also sort of the blessing of getting to work on camera, is that you get to workshop a bunch of this stuff in in real time and find stuff and sort of lock in and be able to sort of, even if you don't even necessarily feel it, approximate it and then go where you need to go. But it's also, you're doing it so many times and just small little snippets. Whereas in a play, it's you're getting on that train and it is not stopping until it reaches the next station. And so it's a real challenge. It's something that I'm always sort of having a hard time navigating. Anytime I go into a new project, it's just right. It's the first couple of times it's not going to be right. It's not going to be perfect. It's just going to be what it is. And we're going to find the thing as we're doing it, because it's a live workshop, and the product will be somewhere in there, but it's not like we have to make the product and then film it and then move along. So yeah.
Jessica, I almost just called you Mia. I'm sorry.
That's really
how convincing you are.
Great.
But what was the most challenging, either scene or moment or just approach to playing Mia?
I think the most challenging approach, thing about playing Mia, God, I don't know. I had a great time. Just first of all, I agree with what Will was saying about, just sort of figuring it out as you go. And just, I think I learned to trust myself. I had just come from a completely different project that was just really big and everything was really grand. And so with this, I got a chance to kind of go in on every single moment. And I felt like I really wanted to challenge myself to be as present with Mia in this role as possible. And so I felt like I wanted to take it moment by moment, but I had to learn to trust myself and know that I had learned my lines the night before and that I could just trust and just go as Mia. And I felt like I found a really good sweet spot in this project where I just kind of focused on staying present. And that was, I think, the most challenging thing, was making sure no matter what that I was present.
It's such a fantastic season. It's strange that one of the biggest compliments I can pay it is that I don't need, normally I'm would you do another season? But it ends so perfectly.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't mind, checking in on these characters in a few years if you're both available.
We might be contractually obligated to be slightly available to check with you guys. And I would love to.
Fantastic. Well, on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, I want to thank you so much for sharing your craft today with your fellow actors. I want to remind everyone watching at home that all of season 2 of Love Life is streaming on HBO Max, so you can watch it all in one sitting. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.